this demo is going to be conducted on our publicly available demo site. So just about everything I'm going to show you will be available for yourselves to log in and play around with. It does get refreshed overnight. And as I mentioned, it's publicly available, so refrain from entering any personal information in here. So the first part of my session, I'm just going to basically show you how to create this members list, because as Dave mentioned, we did a survey and there's a few questions that came up around contacts, members, relationships. And that's the beauty of SearchKit, which allows you to combine these components and query them as you like and include these kind of filters. So the one I've got on my screen at the moment gives you contacts, their membership types, their employer name, and some other custom fields from a different component within Civi. We've got the option to filter by member names, the employer, a drop-down list for membership types, and a city field there. And we've got this actions drop-down allowing you to, add activities, send emails, export information, etc. So this is all doable, all out of the box Civi. And this will give you an idea and hopefully some confidence to be able to build your own ones after this session. So within Civi, if you go to Civi, and if this is the first time you intend to do something with SearchKit, you need to make sure that SearchKit and Form Builder, which are two core extensions, are enabled in Civi. And we can do that by going to Administer, System Settings, and Extensions. And we've got two extensions, one called SearchKit, as I mentioned, SearchKit, and the other one is Form Builder. So we just need to make sure that it doesn't say installed. So they need to be enabled before you can start building anything. So once they're enabled, under Search, you'll have this option called SearchKit. So I'm going to go ahead and create a brand new search. And the first thing the system asks you for is basically your base table. What are you going to conduct your search on? And this is important for one main reason, because whatever entity, whatever base table you're starting with, that gives you the ability to do actions. So if you're starting on, say, membership, it will allow you to update memberships. If you start with participants, it will allow you to update participant records. But I'm going to remain on contacts. And I'm going to add some filters, because if I just conduct a search on contacts, I've got just shy of 10,000 contacts there, and I want to filter down. So I'll go into filter conditions, and I'm going to add that I want to only show contact types of individuals. And if I conduct my search now, that number would have reduced. So I've got just over 6,000 now. What I also tend to do is make sure we exclude contacts that are in trash, because the last thing you want is reporting on contacts that are in trash. And another useful one I always add is make sure we don't report on anyone that's been flagged as deceased. That number will reduce a little bit more. So I've got my contacts that I want to report on, and I've added some of my filters. The next thing we want to do now is basically we want to join another table or another component. And before we do that, we've got these three options, and depending on which one you select will definitely vary the results. Very quickly, with optional basically means if I join the entity memberships and I leave it with optional, that will still give me all of my contacts. And if they've got a membership type, it will be added on. But for this particular demo, I want to show only contacts who have a membership, and that number will significantly drop because we've only got 351 members on our demo database. And the third option we got is without, and that's really useful on scenarios like give me a list of all contacts who are not members. So that will find everybody who's not a member on the system. But for this demo, I want to find all contacts who are individuals who have a membership. And I'm also going to add another condition here to give me only members with status is one of new, current, and grace, because I want to report on individuals who have memberships, but only current members. So I don't want to see expired or cancelled memberships. So that's a filter I've added there. Before I add another entity, if I just click on search, we've got some columns and some data there. Because I've added a join now, the SearchKit will allow me to add columns that I'm interested in. The first thing I'm going to add is perhaps the display name for the member. So I can type in whatever you're looking for over here. So I want to see the display name, and perhaps I want to see age of the member. So I can type in the word age, and if I click on search, we'll see that information on the screen. And we've probably got a few things in here that we don't want. So we'll get rid of sort name, contact type, and contact subtype, and click on search again. So we've got 3 columns there which I'm interested in. We've also added the membership join here. So I want to see some membership information. I'm going to add perhaps the membership type. And I'm also interested in the expiry date of the membership. So I'll add that in as a column. So I've got some useful information there now. But I'm also interested in seeing relationship information, and more specifically, the employer of the members. So I'm going to now add another join, another table. And this time, again, I'm going to leave it optional because not all the members have an employer. So if they do have an employer, then it will be available. So I want to add now related contacts. And I want to restrict it to only relationship type employer of. And I also want to add another condition that only returns relationships that are active. So I'm going to include here now enabled equals yes. And I'll click on search. And I'm interested in the employer name, perhaps the employer phone number, and the employer city. And if I click on add over here, and just go down to contacts, related contacts, I've got all the fields that I'm interested in. So the one I want to see now is display name near side. If I just click on search, I should see the employer's name appear. I'm also interested in the phone number for the employer. So let's look at the primary phone, and I'm also interested in the city location of the employer. If I click on search now, we should see that information. One other thing I'm going to add, and the reason I'm going to add it is to be able to add filters on the last step of the SearchKit. So I'm also going to add another table for addresses. And I want to show only primary addresses. So I've already got the results and I've got the columns that I want. And you could, in theory, just save and stop there. Let's just call this member list 2 and save it. So this could be an ad hoc search you've done, and you don't really need to go any further because you've got your results. So at that point, once you've saved, we've got a button here called View Results, and that actually produces a URL and a list of everything you've produced. So that could be good enough for your requirements. But if you wanted to do more with it, and those things could include changing column headings, linking certain options here. We've got an actions drop down, but we can't restrict what's down here at this stage. And the last thing you would want is an action to delete contacts. And you've got a menu here on the right-hand side that you probably don't need. So if you're happy with this, you can leave it as that. But next step to have this functionality and a lot more is to add a table to the list. So if we go back here now, once you've saved it, we can add a few options. And the one I'm going to focus on now is to add a table. And then once you add a table, you've got all your columns here. And in each one, you've got the option to amend the column heading. So I don't want it to be called display name. Let's call it employer name. And we've got a few other options here, which include things like link. So if I click on that, we can hyperlink the value to do something. And for this one, it's already picked it up that it's a contact record, and we want it to link to the contact record. We've got age, years. I'm happy with the heading there. So we've got membership type. So let's just get rid of contact memberships and just rename that heading there. We've got membership expiration date. Let's get rid of the front part there, and let's just call it membership expiry date. And I'm going to link this to view the contact membership. And if I click on the drop down here, we can open normally, which means the screen you're on, open it in a new tab, or a third nice option called pop-up dialog, which opens it up as a window on the actual screen. I'm just going to rename these other few ones. Sort name, let's change that to employer name. Let's link that to the employer's record. We've got phone number. We'll just rename that just to phone. And I'll just rename that to just city as well. And if I click on preview, we can see that the column headings have been updated, and we've got some hyperlinks there. So all these sections here, it gives us the ability to rename and do some fancy stuff. Then we've got a settings section when we're creating a table, which allows you to sort by. So we can sort by perhaps membership expiry date, perhaps have the ones that are about to expire at the top, or perhaps just sort by something simple like last name. We've also got an option to have this actions menu, which is enabled at the moment, but we've got the options to disable it. And if I go down to the bottom and refresh, that action menu disappears. But it is really useful. And as I mentioned, you probably want to only enable some of them, and definitely not options like delete contacts. I'll just remove a few more. And we've also got options to show count in header, a sticky header, which is a nice little feature, adjustable page size. So you can default load 50, but if you want to see 500 on the screen, we've got the option to change that. I'll just check these other boxes as well, just to show you some additional functionality. Once you're happy with that, we can save. And now we've got two screens, the original one that we just saw, and now we've got the table, which also produces its own URL. And now we've got an actions drop-down with limited results, and it doesn't show things like delete contacts. The employer name, I said I want it to be hyperlinked to open in a new tab. So if I click on that, that opens it in a contact record. We've got the age, we've got membership type, we've got membership expiry date, and I told the system when I click on that to open up a pop-up dialog, and that gives you all the membership information. And then we've got the employer name hyperlinked to the contact record. We've got a telephone number, and we've got the city of the employer. So that was the second step of creating that, which gives you a lot more functionality. And there's a third step, and the purpose of that one is to be able to add filters, add it to a navigation menu, have control of the URL, and add it as a dashlet on your dashboard. And the way to do that is once you've saved your table, you'll get an option called Forms here. Again, if you don't see that button, it's probably because the extension hasn't been enabled. So under Forms, click on Create from the table rather than the results table. So if I proceed by clicking on Create one from the table, we have two screens. One is the form settings, and it's asking us to give a title, which is mandatory. I'll just call this members list 2. Optional description. We've got some permissions options there, and we've got some options under placement. So we've got page route, basically what URL you want to give it, whereas the other options, it gives you a very long-winded one and no control over it. But here we can add member -list 2 or whatever you see fit, but it has to begin with CiviCRM. We've got a few other options here. Accessible to front of website. You probably don't want to do that because it's an internal report. But Form Builder does give you the ability to create, say, event listings, membership directories, and that's when you would check this box. Add to navigation menu, simply just adds it to the navigation menu. And then we've got other options here to add to Dashlet or even the contact summary record. But I'll cover that a bit more with some other Dashlets I've created. Then if I click on this table here, this is where you can add filters. So the first thing I'm going to do is perhaps add the ability to search on display name of the employee, and I'll rename that to perhaps member name. Then I also want the ability to search on the employer's display name. Then I'll grab that from this list under contact 2 and drag that over and rename that to, say, employer name. And I'm also interested in filtering on some membership fields. So let's add a filter for perhaps membership type, which will be important. And let's add another filter for, let's say, the employer's city. That'll be all the way at the bottom. Address fields, and let's find city. And let's drag that over here. So at the moment, by default, all the filters are one on top of each other, and that'll take up a lot of room on your screen. But we can have them side by side by adding a container at the top. Once you've added it, click on the cog there and the layout, select the middle one. And I'm just going to add a border just to make it look nice. And then if I drag the filters on, it becomes responsive. And you can just add fields side by side. For some reason, it's done membership type mandatory, but I'm just going to uncheck the required field and just save that. Once that's saved, it will populate a link on the top right here, which takes you to the search and the filters that you've created with the URL that I've entered. So now we've got exactly the same form. Under actions, we've got the limited results. We can search by member name. So if I just type in, say, Michael, we've got everyone with the name Michael. We've got employer name. So if I type in, say, give me all members with the employer Duke, we've got information there. I want to filter just by a particular membership type. We can do that from here. And obviously, if we want to find all members where the employer is located in Bristol, we've got that option as well. And obviously, every time we filter, we've got the actions and we can do stuff with them. And the most important thing is to be able to export these contacts and perhaps communicate with them via email. So that was a very quick overview of SearchKit and Form Builder, and that just used contacts, memberships, related contacts, and the ability to search on these fields. Obviously, you can do that with memberships, participants, contributions, and you can obviously link different components as you see fit. So hopefully that'll give you a bit of confidence and a bit of know-how on how to build your own reports.